Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CMA and CMO webinar series. I'm Mike Wilkening, Communications Manager here at ARC, and I will be your host for today's webinar, How Mars Petcare Bridge Data Gaps to Drive Product Performance, hosted by our friends at Harmonya. Now, today, we're going to take a closer look at how Mars Petcare has collaborated with Harmonya to tackle data challenges and fuel growth through AI-powered harmonization and insights. We're going to cover real-world strategies for closing data gaps, conducting competitive product analysis, and uncovering category trends. Now, a couple words before we get started today. We will happily take your questions, so please enter those in the Q&A function on your screen, and we'll also be recording today's session. So if you miss anything, don't fret. We'll have a recording up in our resource library. It's my pleasure now to introduce our speakers today. Gina Carbone is Senior Customer Success Manager at Harmonya with 25 plus years of expertise in the CPG industry. Now, before joining Harmonya, she spent 5 years at Trax, managing in-store audit-based projects with leading CPG clients. She also spent 15 years at Nielsen, supporting clients with roles in field sales, HQ sales, and insights. And she also has extensive Catman experience. Now, Gina's interests include cooking, and she has a 7-month-old yellow lab, Riley. And I spent most of the lead up to this call angling for a dinner invite and to also pet the dog. So my priorities are in a good place. We're also pleased to welcome Michael Mychek, the Senior Manager for Data Capabilities at Mars Petcare US, where he leads a team that handles everything from data vendor relations to creating cutting-edge reporting tools. Now, in his role, he's partnered with brands such as Iams, Greenies, and Temptations to drive strategic decisions. Now, before his time at Mars, he spent 2 years at Key Foods, where he worked with Walmart and Meijer to fuel category growth. Now, Michael's interests include golf and kickball, and he has a cat named Pumpkin. So a happy October to Pumpkin, and a happy October to all of you. Now, with that, it's my pleasure to get started today and to hand it off to our presenters. Michael, Gina, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so let's just jump into it. So starting with an overview of the partnership between Harmonya and Mars, we began working with Mars early this year, and Michael is our primary contact. We're also working with Mary and Bethany over there. We pair the Harmonya data with several different sales data sources. Currently, NIQ, we're also working with integrating Stackline, Amazon, and Chewy data. And what we're primarily looking at is product ID mapping, which is one of our case studies that we'll look at today. We also deliver our insights application, where we're able to deliver insights on different trends and characteristics. And we also do a little bit with attribution automation for them. So just to start with an overview of Harmonya. So for those of us who have been floating around CPG for a while, we tend to think of product data in a very structured way. And at Harmonya, we are a company who is focused all on providing data richness around products. So when we traditionally think about products, it's in a way that is hierarchical, where we think of a category, a subcategory, a segment, a subsegment. But at Harmonya, through our enriched product data, what we are able to do is go out, scrape websites for different characteristics about products, independent of what types of characteristics might be pre-associated with them, and really add a certain amount of color to the product attributes that we're looking at. And now, instead of just thinking of something in a straight hierarchy, we can understand maybe what are the claims that are associated with it, what types of textures, what claims or benefits are associated. The way we do that is through a 3-step process. We start with going out and acquiring the data. So we go out to tier 1 and tier 2 websites where consumers are purchasing products. Think about your Amazons, in Mars's case, Chewy, Walmart, Target, and we go and we scrape all the different information from the PDP pages that are associated with products. The second step is through our large language model, we extract the key terms that are relevant to those products. And then lastly, because we're acquiring all of our data at a UPC level, we're able to take that enriched product data, all of those words and concepts and tags that we've extracted, and pair it with our client's sales data to be able to identify what trends are important in terms of total dollar sales or growth or even number of products. The way we take that information and put it back into the universe for consumption for our clients is two different ways. We have our insights platform, which we're going to look at some examples today about how that was leveraged. Our insights platform is where we visualize the product data combined with the sales data. And then we also separately look at attribution management for our customers, where we are able to we're able to apply an attribution our customers are interested in and make it consistent across different products. So starting with our first case study for Mars, I'm going to turn it over to Michael, and he'll give you a background on the impact that we were able to provide.
Thanks, Gina. So really to explain what is one of our primary goals here is, as Gina alluded to, we utilize multiple data sets, whether it's Nielsen, Stackline, and various others. And one of the biggest challenges that we have is being able to synchronize all of these data sets to a UPC or G10 level. And why we want to do that is once we are able to synchronize all these at a UPC or G10 level, we're able to look at the market more holistically, whether it's online sales or within brick and mortar. And so we came with this challenge to Harmonya is what we found specifically using Amazon, for example, we collect sales at an ASIN level, which is not necessarily UPC level. And we came with the challenge of, can you help us get these products that we have at an ASIN level and figure out what is the UPC associated with it? And so what they came up with was an AI-powered solution that really helped us match 2,000 of these missing items that we did not have pre-existing. And with this, one of the most astonishing parts of this was after mapping these into our sales figures, this gave us $1.7 billion in annual sales within the whole total market that we were previously kind of blind to when it came to what is the exact item that this sales is associated with. The second thing that we've really leveraged Harmonya for is really trying to answer leadership questions. Here's just a few that we've tried to answer. Dry dog trends. We have quite a few dry dog brands such as Pedigree, Iams, and Crave. Puppy. This is very important to us as consumers are entering the dog market for the first time. Normally it's through a puppy, so trying to win them early. Dental dog treats. If you've ever seen a Greenies commercial, the little toothbrush ones. It's a big brand here. We do very well within the dental space. So really trying to stay ahead of trends. And then, of course, always trying to understand what our key competitors are doing. One thing I will note is one of the most valuable parts of the partnership that we've had with Harmonya is as these business questions have come in, we've had experts within our space here at Mars that really understand what is the question we're trying to answer so that we can go action on it. And partnering with Gina and her team, they're really the experts on how do we utilize Harmonya to be able to answer these questions, and being able to essentially connect them together has really sped up our insights to answering some of these key questions. I believe Gina's going to go through a couple of examples here.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So I'm going to just show as an example the first two, some insights that came from the first two. So starting with dry dog trends, the question that we were asked to investigate was to understand what are some of the current and the up and coming trends for dry dog food. So using the Harmonya data, what we were able to do was look at what are those top selling characteristics or themes that are associated with dry dog food, and then understand within each one of those themes, what are the brands that are competing within each one of those themes? And we what we saw was, from a top selling perspective, general nutrition and health was really paramount. When we looked at, as well as ingredient focus and ingredient quality, when we looked at drivers, or what are some of the concepts that were growing the fastest, we saw that added benefits popped up to the top as important there. But then when we looked at some of those emerging trends, or things that we're calling under the radar, those were really focused around themes of ethical sourcing. And what was really interesting to me as I was doing this work for the team was that when we looked at things that might be the most important from a dollar sales, or even from a growing the fastest perspective, there was a very similar set of brands that was playing in each one of those spaces. However, when we looked at those emerging trends, what we saw bubbling up under the radar, we saw a very different list of competitors coming up. And that enabled us to be able to say to Mars, hey, as you're thinking about what's coming next for your brands, watch out for these brands that are coming up in the emerging trends under ethical sourcing, because it is a new set of players you will have to compete with. So some of the insights we had coming from here, quality and nutrition are the leading trends for dry dog food. You really need to continue to drive that messaging home for your customers. When you think about added benefits like weight management, healthy teeth, no fillers, those are really gaining in popularity. Think about how you can tie that messaging to your products. Also, focus on innovation and ethical sourcing and sustainability when you think about some of your innovations that might be coming up. And then finally, when you think about those emerging smaller brands, we know that they tend to emerge online first. So keep an eye out for them, because they could emerge online before they enter brick and mortar.
And one thing I'll note here on how we've been able to apply some of this to the business is we have a team here that really meets with consumers to try out new packaging concepts. And being able to see trends or claims that are growing very fast in the market has enabled us to come up with solutions to try with consumers and perform these tests at a very faster and more efficient manner.
Thanks, Michael. All right, for our second case study we'll review today, the team came to us to say, what are the most important claims and benefits that they should be emphasizing when they're marketing their puppy products? So for this, what we were able to do is, first, leveraging our insights platform, we're very easily able to identify all products that are targeted towards puppy, because they're communicating that they are for puppies. And through that, we identified what are the most important concepts or characteristics for those puppy products. And the top 5 tags were around healthy, quality protein, balanced diet, healthy immune system, and shine. What we then did was said, okay, for Mars brand A and B versus their key competitor for each one, do your brands possess that characteristic, or that tag? How many of your products have it? What's the size, the dollar size, and the growth? And we were able to see where there were opportunities for Mars, where they might be missing some of those most important concepts for puppy. So the key insights and recommendations we had was, first of all, keep the messaging consistent. When you're talking about communicating these key characteristics, you're going to want to make sure you do it across the full line, not just on a small subset of products within puppy. You have some opportunity to add tags like healthy immune system or shine. Again, these are things that are important to puppy products overall. You want to make sure that your products are hitting those messages as well. And also, other areas to explore for growth tags was around protein-rich food and healthy food. All right. So coming next, so we are continuing our partnership with Mars. Michael, I'll let you speak to this a little bit.
Sounds good. So in our first year with Harmonya, it was really focused on trying to understand the brick and mortar market the most we can. With this, I communicate quite a bit with our Amazon and Chewy teams, and they've seemed to have a large interest in this data, specifically when it comes to the online space. As we know, the dynamics are a little bit different. So going into this next year, we're expanding our coverage of the tool from brick and mortar to include brick and mortar and the online space. Additionally, if you remember that first point on trying to understand really a holistic view on what are the products from all of our various data sources. We're increasing some of the AI-empowered characterization mapping that Harmonya does for us going into this next year as well.
All right. So I think that's it from our side.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Michael, for that. We have a little bit of time for Q&A. So for those that do have questions, please use the Q&A function below to get those in. We've had a couple come in that we'll go through right now. Let's start with this one. I think we'll go to Michael on this one first, and it's about UPC matching. And the impact of having a clearer view of product data from UPC matching, how does that help your decision-making process?
Yeah, I can think of two main ways that we leverage it. First is just trying to understand market dynamics. What we've learned is that e-com is growing very fast, a bit faster than brick and mortar. So first, by having UPCs mapped across all of our various data sets and all of our retailers, we can understand how our items are competing versus competitor items at an individual item level instead of a whole brand level. And so with that, we can also, one other thing that it's been able to unlock, just an example of how we utilize that, is innovation. In the past, we haven't been able to track competitor innovations as well online because, again, we were receiving at an ASIN level versus a UPC level in brick and mortar. But now that we can look at the whole market at an individual UPC level, we can understand how our innovation versus competitor innovations, how fast they're scaling online versus brick and mortar at a significantly better manner.
That's good insights, Michael. And again, I think when it comes to, again, competitor analysis and things like that, it's seem to be a huge benefit of this tool. Again, this idea of keeping up on what others are doing before, not necessarily it's too late, but before you can, again, sort of have a sense of what it means and how to react accordingly. I think that's a wonderful thing. Another question's come in. It's around product data insights. I think I'd ask both of you to address it. And how do these insights kind of help a brand stay ahead in competitive categories? A couple examples that you can share.
Go ahead, Michael.
I can go through a couple. First, alluded to it a little bit earlier, but what we like to do whenever we're thinking of new ways or new claims on packaging or ways of having the package look, things like that. In the past, it's been a lot of just looking at the market, looking at other products, competitors, whatever that may be, and trying to see what are they claiming versus us and trying that with the consumers. But now with the Harmonya tool, especially with the scraping that they do and combining of the sales data, we have much more of a numbers approach on trying to see what is growing fast within the market, what is bigger, what is smaller. And so that now our new ideas or consumer testing is much more number backed rather than just scraping, the online or looking at the stores for individual claims. So that'd be the first one I'd call out. The second one, again, utilizing the Harmonya, is we understand new themes that are coming within the market, and how we can utilize this is on our within our e-com retailers, starting to layer some of those within our product descriptions, so that as these search terms or concepts become more prevalent in the market, we already have it within our tags so that our products start showing up as these themes continue to grow.
I'll just add another way I've seen clients really embracing this data is when they have maybe heard something anecdotally from their buyer or somebody that, here is here's a term that's a hot trend in the category. I heard this is really doing great. And because our tool enables someone to look on the fly for a specific term and see what the sales data is associated with that and the trends and the products and compare that to the growth of the category, it's really been powerful to quickly look at if something is important or not in the current universe. And it takes it out of the, well, I heard this is starting to become a big deal.
And helps you level set, sounds like a little bit on things.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
great. Great answers there. Michael, I've got one for you that's come in. And it's about this idea of, socializing a new data source, like merging attributes within an organization, right? To get new tools, new way of doing things. There's this whole idea of getting everybody on board and also sort of getting them, up to speed with kind of what, how to leverage a tool, how to leverage sort of the insights within a new tool. So to that end, any tips on how to get teams like marketing, other functions sort of on board to understand and accept the data from this tool?
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways that I've seen work best. One way I've learned, we have various tools and partnerships here. And one way I've learned that doesn't work well is when it's mass releases where we have 100, 200 people on within the business, and we share it. I think how we like to launch them initially is find people that work very specifically within this key space that could leverage this. So for us, that would be teams that do consumer concepts on packaging. Very relevant here, what is growing within the market. Additionally, now that we're especially leveraging the e-com tool, is working with the partners that will actually put the product descriptions underneath the individual products. And so first getting growth within people, or I guess groups within the org that it makes the most sense. And then the second part that I found works really well is get excitement from leadership and show the tools, how the tool can benefit. When leadership's behind a tool very quickly, those going into them, reporting into them, have plenty of incentive to start leveraging the tool for any of the insights that they're working on.
Kind of change management 101, right? I mean, this idea of getting people to buy in and then you have people sort of be evangelists for it. And there's no better way than sort of getting your leadership excited about it, because that just flows down naturally. But also there's this kind of this idea that if they're on board, we all better be on board. So that's a great kind of, again, sort of linkage to some really just good, strong, fun change management fundamentals. And it seems like anytime we discuss tools like this or innovations, that's at the sort of at the foundation of all of this, of making sure if you can get that right, that kind of can flow through sort of the acceptance you're going to need to really leverage this to best effect. One last question that's come in around attribution data, and Michael, maybe you can address this from the Mars standpoint. The attribution data provided in the tool, in terms of being able to sort of verify that and also sort of just overall just sort of put some context around it. What's your process around it? How do you sort of, figure out how to best sort of, I guess for lack of a better term, sort of verify that data, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to how we do any of our data sources or providers. Is we use Mars as our validation or source of truth. So when we get the feed from Harmonya, one of the easiest ways to validate the data that they're sending to us is we know what's on our packages. We know what we're claiming. And being able to compare what they're sending to ours is a really good validation step. And then from there, there's definitely spot checks that happen as we work through any of these projects, as we're looking specifically at competitor data, because we don't know that as much. That's why we're using the tools to learn. But I think just in general, one of the best ways of validating data like this is use what you know, which is your own products, to validate what the feed is.
And I'll just say from the Harmonia side too, we also welcome very open conversations with our clients. We do want them to trust the data. So where there are examples where people have come to us and said, this term or this characteristic surprised me, we are able to go back and say, okay, here's the source. Here's an example of where it's coming from.
Sort of a good way, I think, to wrap today's conversation. We packed a lot in 30 minutes. And so for those on the call today, again, this will be recorded in our resource library. Certainly want to thank Michael and Gina for their time. Certainly you see on the screen for other outreach to Harmonia, more interest in the tool, more interest in this presentation today. Certainly encourage you to reach out. Also reach out to the CMA as well. We're happy to make a connection and an introduction as well. We've got a pretty packed webinar schedule here for the CMA in the month of October. So be on the lookout for more invites and more programming here in the weeks ahead. Again, our thanks to the experts at Mars as well as Harmonia today. Have a wonderful remainder of your day and week. And again, thank you for joining this latest CMA webinar.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, everyone.